Elite Facts presents
7 insane weapons people invented.
7.
Hand mortar. Oh, what's that? Grenade launchers are too heavy and way too inconvenient to carry around? Yeah, we get you. Well, did you know that there's a freaking handheld explosive launcher that was created way back in the 16th century? It begs the question as to why this hasn't been improved upon since then. Hand mortars are exactly what they sound like, a weapon that could be held in the hand and fire an explosive round over a large distance. This gun is exactly what would happen if a grenade launcher made love to a flintlock pistol. The user would light the fuse of a grenade and then put it into the barrel of the weapon before using gunpowder to fire it at the enemy. Now, yes, that's pretty primitive, but this is the 16th century we're talking about. Speaking of which, this weapon was used mainly between the 16th and 18th centuries, although it was not a common firearm. I mean, come on, could you imagine every average Joe carrying around one of these back then? That would be like if every Cletus out there had a freaking rocket launcher. It would be anarchy. Now, you're probably asking us, why hasn't this weapon been improved upon and why isn't it in production today? Well, the answer to that is pretty simple. The weapon was unreliable and offered a number of safety concerns for anyone using them. The explosive grenades could often become stuck in the barrel and explode, while in other cases, the gunpowder would light the fuse too early and cause it to prematurely blow up. It was just too risky to keep producing these guns and too risky to even improve on them. Regardless, this weapon is just nuts.
6.
Stinger pen pistol. If only this gun was golden. That way, it would have seemed like an updated version of the golden gun from the James Bond film, The Man with the Golden Gun. I wonder how many more times we can say golden gun in this portion of the video. Golden gun. Okay, I think that's all out of the system now. All joking aside, this weapon is literally something out of a spy thriller film, and we've often seen guns and other weapons disguised as ordinary household objects such as a pen or walking stick. The R.J. Braverman Stinger pen pistol differs from ordinary pen guns, though, by actually folding into position and looking like an actual gun, giving them a designation of a normal gun and therefore freeing them of tight regulations that govern disguised weapons. This gun was produced and manufactured back in the 1990s, because like most awesome things, of course it was made back in the 1990s. However, it's believed that only 4,000 of the guns were ever made, making them something of a collector's item.
5.
Duck's foot gun. Okay, we're not gonna lie, this one is pretty damn cool. So, a duck's foot gun was a distinctive type of volley gun that was manufactured during the 19th and 20th centuries. What sets this aside from other volley guns out on the market is that it had multiple barrels all aiming in the exact same direction, giving this weapon a much wider burst. Duck's foot gun had 4 individual barrels that were arranged in a similar way to that of a duck's foot. I mean, it's in the gun's name after all. This unique arrangement meant that the user could use it to fire at more than one target at a time. Hell, it even gives the user a better chance of taking down a group of people directly in front of them. This property made it very popular with those who might have to face threats from groups or gangs, such as prison guards and ship captains. This weapon isn't without its flaws, however, as its heavy design and high recoil make it difficult to fire and aim.
4.
Vomit gun. Remember the 6 sticks used by police in the movie Minority Report? Or how about that weird taser-like device used in the film Kick-Ass 2? Well, the sticks would cause anyone that touched them to instantly vomit. This weapon is very similar to that concept. Believe it or not, a real-life vomit gun has been invented. In 2007, the U.S. Navy signed a contract with a company called Invocon to develop a weapon that uses radio frequency to impact a person's sense of hearing and equilibrium. The idea of this weapon is that if anyone is hit by the vomit guns, or rays, let's go with rays, they immediately experience severe motion sickness and will eventually throw up. At the same time, the Department of Homeland Security's Science and Technology Department engaged a company called Intelligent Optical Systems to develop an LED incapacitator that emits a rapid pulse of different colored lights to cause dizziness, headaches, and vomiting as well. Unlike most of the other weapons mentioned on this list, the vomit gun is viewed as a non-lethal means of subduing people and gaining the upper hand on enemy combatants. That and embarrassing someone you just simply don't like without hurting them physically. And very much like the soon-to-be-mentioned digital revolver, the vomit gun seems to be a case where science fiction has actually caught up to science fact. Maybe if this weapon is used by the police, there will be less crime. Throwing up is one of the worst feelings ever.
3,
German Gustav railgun. Time to go back to a dark period in history to showcase one of the biggest titans used during the Second World War. Back in World War II, the Germans developed a number of different powerful weapons that they envisioned would help them to defeat the Allies and become the supreme military force on the planet. Some of the weapons they envisioned, and in some cases even invented, were downright mad. Things such as stealth bombers, spherical tanks, anti-aircraft rocket launchers, guided missiles, and even, quote-unquote, helped further the development of nuclear weaponry. They were all about innovation. However, this weapon was just downright mad as they combined a large projectile weapon with an on-rails vehicle. We're of course talking about the Dora and Gustav rail cannons. They were the biggest cannons ever created and were so big that they had to be moved around in pieces and assembled in the desired location. With almost a 32-inch caliber and rounds that weighed in excess of 10,000 pounds, the cannons were capable of reaching targets more than 90 miles away and travel through 100 feet of dirt and rock. The Gustav gun was used only once, as the huge size and weight made them large targets and incredibly difficult to transport.
2,
Pepperbox gun. Okay, this one is a little bit of a cheat, as it is fairly similar to the split-shot duckfoot gun, what with the multiple barrels on this device. But we figured that it's just different enough to be classed as its own weapon, and it's just too cool to leave off of this list. Much like any modern pistol, pepperbox guns hold multiple bullets for repeat firing. However, unlike those un-American pieces of trash you call revolvers, a pepperbox doesn't believe in sharing. Now, you're probably saying, what the hell are you smoking? Well, nothing, but thanks for asking. The pepperbox gun doesn't believe in sharing because the gun doesn't hold a clip of ammo. Instead, each individual bullet gets its own private barrel. No sharing required. Sharing is un-American, damn it! All jokes aside, however, this is a pretty damn cool weapon. It's almost like having a minigun in the palm of your hand. Now, as you'd probably expect, this weapon is just no good on the battlefield. I know we've just built this weapon up for like a solid minute, but as cool as it is, it can be very impractical. Now, you know how we just mentioned the minigun? Yeah, there's a reason why they're not that portable. They're usually mounted to vehicles or on stands as stationary weapons. That's because the weight of the barrels are simply too much to aim precisely and keep it steady. The pepperbox gun suffers from the same issue. That's not all. Even though this gun can hold a lot of ammunition, each bullet needs to be loaded manually by hand rotating the barrel between shots. It's too complex for possible use on the battlefield. But regardless of all this, the weapon certainly deserves to be mentioned on this list just for how crazy of an idea it is.
1,
Digital revolvers and pistols. The future is now. So the Armatix digital pistol looks like something out of a freaking Blade Runner movie or some other science fiction film. And a variant of this weapon was actually featured in a recent James Bond film, Skyfall, in the form of a Walther PPK. What sets this gun apart from any other handheld pistols is this new futuristic feature, the Palm Reader. This gun has a digital safety mechanism that can only be disabled if the operator is also wearing a special wristwatch that sends the unlock signal to the gun. The more and more we talk about it, the more and more it sounds like the gun used in Judge Dredd. Well, not the good one, but the goofy one starring Sylvester Stallone. The wristwatch itself only becomes active once the user unlocks it with their fingerprint. Now, that is security for you. This means that in order to use the gun, you must have your fingerprints scanned and recognized, and you must be wearing the watch while you're using the gun. That means no matter who has possession of the gun can only be fired by the owner, preventing the gun from being used by people who may steal it. It also means that the revolver cannot be used against its owner. Many gun experts claim that this approach is the way of the future and a great means of ensuring gun safety. How widespread use of this digital revolver gets remains to be seen.
Don't forget to like us and subscribe for more Elite Facts.